All right, you guys, Tuesday night Q&A. And so if you guys have any questions related to real estate investing and need them answered, you're at the right place. And so we sent out an email leading up to this. So I think some of you guys did email some questions, but we didn't get a lot. So we'll probably not be on this call that long. I think Keith, you said we got 4 questions.
Yeah, maybe five. Yeah.
Couple small case scenarios that I'll just go over. Couple phone calls that I received today from a couple of investors that I'll answer. But Keith, if you want to go ahead and fire away, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a good holiday weekend. And Greg, I wanted to introduce Toby. Toby Dickey is on the line. He's a new platinum coaching student, and he has some questions for us as well. So we'll get to his in a little bit, but let's roll. So, Greg, our platinum coaching student Jade has a question. So she's working on a deal. The seller wants to make $120K to cover their expenses. They want to sell the property, but Jay doesn't want to spend any more than $110 to $120K on the purchase. So she wants to know, can she use the subject to strategy to finance to make the deal work? And if she is able to make that work, how would that occur?
Okay.
Can we repeat it again?
You can repeat it, but I think there's some missing pieces. Like I would want to know. I would want to know like what the ARV is, things like that. And Jade, comment. Do a comment in the comment section just to let us know that you're on. Just say hi. Just to let us know that you're on, because I think there's some missing pieces that I would need to know in order to answer that question.
Okay.
And so let's
come back to that.
Yeah, Jade, if you're on, just let us know, and then I'll answer the question.
Okay. So let's move on. So Dana has a question, Greg. He wants to know, can you break down the process for purchasing a bank-owned property?
Yes. Hey, Keith, by the way, do you know Jade's email address?
Yeah, Hartford Holdings,
okay.
LLC. You see it?
Is Hartford or Hartford? HARF?
HAR.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right. Dana wants to know the process of purchasing a bank-owned property.
Yes.
So normally a bank-owned property is what we call an REO, real estate owned by the bank. And so the process is most REOs are either listed by an agent or now banks are starting to go to foreclosure sites to sell their properties. They're going to foreclosure sites. Sites such as auction.com and other online auction places. And so the process is just identifying a property. After you identify the property, you do your Mayo formula to make sure it's a good deal. And then if it's listed on the MLS, you should be working with an agent. And then your agent or yourself just makes an offer. And you make your offer according to, the Mayo formula. And the bank, what's different from a REO than just a regular purchase is, in most cases, the bank is not paying any transfer and recordation. So buyer pays all of that. And then also the bank's going to have their own addendums that that you've got to fill out. And in most cases will have their own contract too. So their own contract, their own addendums. And in a lot of cases, the bank will not pay. I think I already mentioned this, but they won't pay any transfer recordation. So buyer pays all. And so that's the only difference. The financing and all that is totally the same. So the only difference with an REO is they have their own addendums, transfer recordation, all paid by the bank in most cases, their own contract. And I believe that's it. If it's a cash offer, they want to see proof of funds. So you either provide a bank statement showing the amount or a letter from a bank. And then generally, if it's a cash offer, they want more money up front as an earnest money deposit. But other than that, that's all it is. It's just really like a regular sale.
Okay. And Dana, if you're on the line, let us know that you understand what Greg just mentioned.
Yeah, he's on the line.
Okay.
Let's see. Karen has a question. She says, Greg, wholesaling properties on the MLS, would you still use the Mayo formula? Absolutely. So you absolutely still, whenever you buy anything, you guys, you always use the Mayo formula, unless you have cash buyers that are looking to buy and hold, and you know that they're going to be buying a little higher. I had a property that nobody wanted in Southeast on Newcomb Street. I listed it on Investor Lift, and I knew the numbers were tight, but I got lucky. I found a buyer, cash buyer, that was looking for an investment property to actually live in, and so their numbers was a lot higher, and I was able to wholesale. I made $15,000. This was recent, like the last month or two. But so there are separate cash buyers or cash buyer lists that you guys should have. A cash buyer that wants to buy according to the formula. They're going to flip the property. You've got some cash buyers that will hold, and they may buy at 75%. And then you've got some cash buyers that will actually buy the property and live in it. You want to make sure that Karen and I looked at a property, I think it was Friday. From what the lady wants, numbers don't work at all. But what I think I said to Karen was, let's just get it. Let's put it on the MLS and see if we get a buyer that's willing to do the work and live in it. And you never know. Now, what's the worst case scenario there? Worst case scenario is we put contingencies in the contract. Let's say one of our contingencies is an inspection within 2 weeks. That gives us 2 weeks to put the property on the MLS to see if we can secure a buyer. And if not, within those 2 weeks, that 2-week contingency, we just get out, either get out the contract or renegotiate the contract. But the biggest thing is to get it under contract. And so sometimes that's what we do. Even if the numbers don't work, we just get it under contract and try to find one of those buyers. A traditional buyer is probably not going to work if your numbers don't work for you. They're not going to work for a traditional cash buyer that wants to flip or hold. But you might be able to find. That's going to flip, which they're going to buy at 70%. Someone that's going to hold may buy at 75% or 80%, and someone that's going to actually live in the property, they're going to buy at 75, 80, 85%. And in our market, they can do someone that's going to live in it, like the one I wholesaled on Newcomb. They will buy it at just a little higher and get an FHA loan and do a 203K, and so they can do a rehab loan. But like I said, a couple months ago, I was able to find a buyer who's moving into the property, and I didn't even put it on the MLS. Hey Jade, I sent you an email with a StreamYard link in it. Click on that StreamYard link, and I want you to join us and ask that question. So the email has two links, a YouTube link and a StreamYard link. Click on the StreamYard link. Let's see, Karen, Dana says, if the deal falls through, do you lose your so this is the good question, and I think I already answered it. But Dana says, if the deal falls through, do you lose your EMD? And so, Dana, when we write these contracts, and when you guys write these contracts, I want you guys to pay real close attention to the contingency dates. And so in our boilerplate contract, we generally put about 15 days for an inspection. We normally put like 15 days for financing. And so within that 15 days is really for you to find a cash buyer. And if you don't, then you use that contingency to get out the contract. Now, listen, before you guys get out the contract, try to renegotiate. I call it the negotiation after the negotiation after the negotiation, but it's really a renegotiation. And so you go back to the seller and say, our contractor went through, it's going to cost a little more to renovate the property. I know we're on a contract for $525. I can buy it for $500, but I can buy the property for $500. And then if not, I'm going to have to use the contingency to get out the deal. And a high percentage of the time, they're willing to renegotiate. But that's what you do. So you never ever lose your deposit because you actually get out the contract before that 15 days. Now with a bank, so I see your next question. I'll be right with you, Jade. Now, with the bank, he said, I thought you were saying that the bank supplies the contract. Bank does supply the contract. Now, we want to put some contingencies in the bank's contract too. I would advise try not to purchase any property without any contingencies. Like you're really setting yourself up to lose your EMD. And so we want to generally speaking, I believe even in a bank contract they have a financing contingency. Now they are selling as is, but I have seen banks do some work, especially if it's what we call a material or latent defect, like mold, asbestos. What's that gas called that comes up? It's what's that gas called? Radon. They'll do some stuff, but even with the bank contract, depending on the contract, you can get out that contract if you can't find a cash buyer. Now, obviously, what I would want you guys to do is have your buyer in place before you even ratify the contract. That's reverse wholesaling. And so ultimately, get that cash buyer before you even sign the contract. But if not, always know that you have contingencies and watch those days go by every single day. Okay, I got 8 more days to find a cash buyer before I can use the contingency to get out. I've got 7 more days, 6, 2 more days. Okay, if I don't get a cash buyer by today, I'm sending them an email send them an email getting out the contract, or at least today I'm going to have to try to renegotiate. Yeah, so almost every deal I try to now I do anyway. Try to renegotiate. All right, Jade, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. So Jade, ask your question. You had a question That wasn't clear on the question. So go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so I have a seller who they need to sell the house for like 120, 122 because of what they owe on it, including like some past due utilities. I did not want to buy the house for more than 100 to 110. So my thought was, because I'm the subject to came to my mind, and I said, okay, is there a way I could utilize that to purchase the house now, rehab it, right? Get them what they need because they're behind on their mortgage or whatever, and then take over the property later. Does that make sense in this scenario where they want more than I want? I'm willing to pay them. If that makes sense.
So I understand. So what's the ARV you think?
Probably like 200, maybe 225.
Okay. And how much is the house is vacant now?
The house is vacant. The rehab will probably be like 30,000, maybe something along those lines.
What can you rent it for?
The rent is low. I think the rent's like 1650, maybe.
That's what you can rent it for?
I think so. Yeah, on the low end, it might be able to get 1700, but I like to be conservative with it. I think 1650 is safe.
And what's their mortgage payment?
I'm not sure. I didn't get that information yet, but I know he owes like 120. He said if he doesn't get like 122, he can't cover all the expenses. So I think his mortgage is probably like 110, and then plus the seller, the closing costs and the utilities. I think that's what comes into the 122.
I think that you need to know what. So if you're going to do a subject to, that means you're taking over their mortgage, and
right.
So you need to know what that mortgage payment is. The total mortgage payment, PITI. You need to know what that total mortgage payment is. And so, as an example, let's say the total mortgage payment is $1,500, right? So now you're cash flowing $100 a month, but both of us know that it's really less than that, which wouldn't make it a good deal. So you need to know what that mortgage payment is. But let's just say the mortgage payment's $1,000, and you're able to rent it out for $1,600. So now you have a property that you're able to rent out and make $600 a month. And then if it's worth $200 and you buy it for $120, you put 30 into it. So now you're at $150. You've got $50,000 in you have $50,000 in equity, right? You with me?
Yes.
So you have 50,000. So we're going to take the 200,000, multiply that by 70%. You're at 140. So in terms of refinancing, you're at 140. But you're all in at 150. Unless you pay cash for the rehab, this really wouldn't be a good deal, because I would want you to owe less than the 140. So when you refinance, you're not going to have to bring any money to the table.
So can I ask a question? So for subject to, I need to make sure that the rent, while I have it under the subject to contract, the rent is cash flowing based on what their mortgage is, right? And then when I refinance, I would do the rehab, I guess, because I was thinking that I would do the rehab before I rent it, try to get it rented for a higher rent, right? And then once I guess the subject to contract is over the 1 or 2 years or whatever timeline, I don't even know what, I would refinance and then get my money back out. So up front, I would do the rehab and then get my money back out after the contract is up at the higher rate. Is that, but I need to make sure, you're saying I need to make sure that the rent still cash flows against their mortgage.
Absolutely. So you got to take into consideration that the cash flow, and let's just say it's a year or two. let's just say I'm assuming this is Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say it's 2 years, because in Baltimore you got to give it time to appreciate.
Hmm.
Now you're going to force appreciation by fixing the house up, and so but you're saying once you fix it up, it's worth 200, right?
Yeah.
And so let's just say in 2 years it's worth 210.
Hmm.
We see 200 times 5, yeah, 210. So now you're at 210. It's going to appraise for 210 in 2 years. You've got, let's just say you have 150 all in it, but the principal balance has gone down to 110. So now you're at 140, right? So let's just say that you're all in at 140. We do the 210, worth 210. The appraiser is going to appraise it for 210. The mortgage company is going to say, what's 70% of that? They're going to want you to leave 30% equity in the property. So now you're at 147. So at 147,
Scenario, what am I giving him up front? So, okay, the option is purchase the house right now for the higher price of 122, or do what? Like I get the subject to, like, as far as the cash flow needing to pay off the mortgage every month, but what is the benefit? I'm just trying to understand, like, what am I saying? So I want to get the house for less. And so my thought is, the longer he has the house for sale, right, he's still paying that mortgage. Let me take over your mortgage, right? So that you don't have to pay it anymore. And that in itself should pay some of that difference between where I want to be and what he needs, right? That was my thought. Is
Yeah.
that okay? So then if that's the case, I'm taking over his mortgage. Every month that I'm paying off his mortgage, let's say it's $1,000, should be something off of the final purchase price, right? No.
If your final purchase price is 122,
No,
but
I want my final purchase price to be 110. He wants 122 now. So you mean, go ahead.
so you're saying that you're going to negotiate it to 110?
That's what I want. My bottom line is 100 to 110. So I was thinking, if I take over his payments, like my upfront cost would be the rehab, right? I need to pay for the rehab. I need to get it rented. And then what I'm doing for him is I'm saving him on the mortgage because I'm paying it. Instead of giving him the acquisition price he wants to get rid of it, I'm more so saving him money so he doesn't have to pay anymore, right? Which I thought would give me a discount on the acquisition price when I finally do acquire the price. So what I want to do is say, hey, I can't give you 122, right? But what I can give you is 110, and we do this subject to, and then in, X amount of months or whatever, I'll take it over because I'm saving you money on you having to do any more costs. That's what I was thinking. Is that not how it works?
Yeah, that's how it works. But you have to figure out the back end of that. The back end of that is refinancing. What does refinancing look like? And so let's just say it's going to appraise for, you said once you fix up, it's going to appraise for 200, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, what's 70% of the 200? That's 140. So the lender is only going to lend you, and this is all like a hypothetical, the lender is only going to lend you 140. You with me?
Yes.
And so you'll get 140. That 140 will be able to pay off the 110. If you get 110, it'll be able to pay off the 110, and you'll have $30,000 to put in your pocket.
Right.
Which means you get all your money back.
Right.
I mean, we're not including closing costs, but let's just say, notwithstanding closing costs, I would say with those numbers, it's a good deal. And then the longer you can do it, let's just say instead of months, it's a year. you've given that property time to appreciate. And so let's say it appreciates at 210. Now you've got another extra $10,000 to put in your pocket.
Okay. And am I giving him anything up front? Or because I know I need to do the rehab up front, but do I give him something? I guess the EMD, I guess. I would give him like 5,000 or something.
I mean, you can.
But I don't have to.
You got to give him something. There's got to be some type of consideration. So you've got to give him something. You got to put something down. So you can give him something. You can give him a deposit, but I wouldn't give him the deposit. I would give the deposit to the title company.
Right.
Let the title company hold it.
Okay.
And that just comes off of that. So you're just putting 5,000 down on the deal, but it's your earnest money.
Okay, so I need to. I'm probably gonna ask you about this like in the next couple of days again, but I need to
find out one extra time to ask.
So the subject to me is it seems so complicated. So I need to get his financials to see what he actually owes. Since he gave the number, but I need to get the actual detail month to month, what that price is, and then work backwards from there.
Yeah. So you got to get a mortgage statement. You want to see what he owes and what his mortgage payment is. And then you can write a contract. And then once you have him locked up, now the title company can do, of course, they'll do a title search, liens and judgments, but then you can also order a payoff to get the exact amount.
Okay.
And so you need to know the exact amount of the payoff as of the day that you purchased the property.
Okay. And can I do this for an MLS property, or is it only off market?
You can do it with any property. It's just that on the MLS property, the agent representing the seller is not going to understand any of this stuff. And he's going to probably try to persuade them not to do it because they just don't understand creative financing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Greg, I have a question regarding what you guys are talking about. The rehab is going on, but technically the house is not Jade's just yet. Are there any contingencies against Jade doing that rehab in the subject to period? Or
well, technically it is Jade's property.
It is? Okay.
So she's going to close on the deal, and she's going to have what's called an equitable interest in the property. So technically it is her property.
Okay.
And she's going to have a lien on the property as well. So we'll get the title company to put a lien on the property.
Mm-hmm.
You need to put a lien on the property or just do a total, deed of trust. So it's her property. It's definitely her property.
Okay.
And then Jade, in this scenario, you would make the payments to the mortgage company. So what I've seen is the buyer gives the money to the seller to make the payments and it's subject to, and they never make the payments. And so you get all the mortgage information. You'll have it once you get the mortgage statement. And so you'll have the account number and where to send the money in.
Mm-hmm.
And you make those payments yourself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah, you'll have more questions. Just call me.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Keith, did we have any other questions?
We do. Got a few more. So here's a question
Hold on, Keith. We have a couple questions that might be related.
Okay.
Okay. Chantel is saying, any recommendations for a title company that does subject to? And do you mind sharing a contract template? Yeah, Chantel, just email me would be the best way. And I have a template that I'll send to you. And then our title company, Celebrate Settlements, they're experts at creative financing. And so writing up subject to, you know, Tarsha's done some for herself, and so she knows subject to. So yes, we have solutions for you. So Celebrate Settlements. You can go through me with the title company, but definitely contact me. You can even DM me if you want. Where's my? I'll put my Instagram on here. You're gonna follow me or go to Greg Bennett Invest and just request that. But put your email address and I'll send you a contract. Jade, is there room to give the seller? Let's see. Dana's asking Jade, is there room to give seller an amount in the subject to? I don't think there is, but she'll know once she gets the mortgage statement to see what the balance is. The homeowner is behind in the mortgage. Doesn't Jade? Let's just put this up. Okay, if the homeowner is behind in his mortgage, doesn't Jade have to catch up their arrears before purchasing the subject to? And so she does. Jade would have to do that. I don't think Jade mentioned that they were behind. But if they are behind, yeah, she's got to make the mortgage current and all the numbers have to work. Jade, you back with us?
Yeah.
Did you want to answer any of these questions?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that mortgage current or are they behind?
I think it's current. I think he has a water bill or something that is behind. But I don't think he wants to continue making payments. That's what it sounds like. But I have to get more detail.
Okay. And you don't know. So Dana's asking, is there room to give seller any money? I would say no. They want 122. You want to give them 110. You won't really know until I would imagine. And I mean, I could tell you if you gave me the address, I could tell you what they bought it for. But you need that mortgage statement to get all the rest of the information that you need. And you could
I think
see.
they bought it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think they bought it for like 110 when I looked at it. But yeah, I think and it wasn't too long ago. So I think they bought it like a couple, like maybe 3 years ago or so. They have the closing costs that they have to pay and then some type of utility bill that brings them to 122.
Oh, okay. So they may just have to pay that 120, that utility bill and whatever else out of their pocket just to get rid of the property. Dana is asking, he said, wait a minute, do you mean that a closing takes place up front? You can, on a subject to, yeah, you can have a full-blown closing. Just like on a owner financing, you can have a full-blown closing. So there's a couple ways to do it. You can have both parties sign a deed of trust, which is basically a full-blown closing. Or what Jade could do is she could just put a lien on the property. Title company will put a lien on the property using the contract. And that will stop the seller from trying to sell the property up from under her. And she's an equitable owner of that property. Chantel is asking, do you use a service company to make mortgage payments for subject to? No, I just normally send in the payments myself. We just normally send in the payments ourselves. Okay. Jade, what did you think of Iris's property? You didn't see the before, but you saw the after. What did you think?
Oh, it was lovely. I loved it. I wish he came to Baltimore and did rehabs.
Yeah, you should have seen the before though. Many of us saw the before, and so the after was stunning.
Mm.
I actually had some pictures in my phone, but that
Well, she
was.
said.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say she said we could look it up. I just didn't have time to look it up yet.
Okay. Okay. Keith, anything else?
Yep. We have some people that actually turned in their questions prior to this call. And so, Greg, what are the top 3 methods that you would want people to use in setting an appointment to see a property? In other words, they got a deal, and now they want to set the appointment, especially if they're going to want to maybe have you go to the appointment. What are the 3 things that, if there are 3 things, what are the 3 methods for setting the appointment? This question is coming from Toby.
Well, setting an appointment with me?
To see the property. They have a property that they've looked up, researched, found, talked to the seller, and they set an appointment, let's say 2 days from now, 3 days from now.
What's it? So they want me to go with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they should just text me. Just send me a text message and include all the details, like the address, what the seller wants, why they want to sell. And then I can look it up and run the comps and then schedule the appointment with the seller, and I'll see if it fits into my schedule. If not, I'll make some minor adjustments.
Right. And another question, Greg, is where can Toby find more lead lists for pre-foreclosures or absentee owners? Where's the best place, in your opinion, to find these lists or purchase lists?
It's what I talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, is courthouse data. And so Toby just needs some courthouse data to get that information. And so there's 2 companies that we use to get that data. And it's dataflick.com and authentic.com to get courthouse data. They're expensive, but it's worth it. And you get foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, probate. I gave a list last week or the week before, but 7 different. They stack the list of 7 different channels, really. And so you get them from those 2 companies, dataflick.com and authentic.com.
Now, for someone just starting out, let's say is there another way for them to get that courthouse data? For example, maybe like probate or divorce. Could they go to the courthouse and pull those records?
Yeah, you can do that. So all of those lists that you can actually do yourself. Authentic.com and dataflick.com. I think I'm spelling these right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody go use those 2 and make sure that they're right.
Right.
Make sure I spelled them right. I think I did.
Great. 2 more questions. What is the most effective way in finding information on a property that you drove past and the house looks in ill repair?
What's the best way to get more information?
Yeah, on that property.
And the seller as well. And so you want to do what's called skip tracing. And so with that address, you can get with the address, you want to get the homeowner's name. You can, if you're an agent, you can just go to the MLS. If you're not an agent, you can just Google real property search. And if the property's in Maryland, real property search Maryland. Mm-hmm. One of the first things that come up, you can just put the address in, and it's going to give you the homeowner's name. Maryland, you can, instead of doing that, well, you're going to do that, and it's going to take you to SDAT. I think it's not SDAT.com, but it's SDAT something.
SDAT real property. I'm on it now. I searched on that earlier today. Yeah, SDAT.
Oh yeah, in Maryland it's SDAT. DC, I forget what it is, but you just Google real property search, and it'll put the address in. It'll give you the homeowner's name. So with the homeowner's name and address, you can use a skip tracing service to get the phone numbers. But what I do is, let's say it's a property in DC. I have the homeowner's name and I have the address. I'll put the homeowner's name. I'll Google the homeowner's name, and then if it's DC, I'll put 202. And then, you know, a bunch of things will come up with a bunch of phone numbers. Hopefully one of the phone numbers is attached to the exact address that I'm looking for. And those are the numbers that you call. That's sort of a shortcut that I use. I'll just Google the name and put 202. It's in Maryland. I'll Google the name and put 301 or 240. But you can go to a skip tracing service. I use REI Skip. If you have PropStream, you can use PropStream. I think it's like a dime. I think it's 10 cents a record. What else do we use?
Deal Machine.
You can use Deal Machine. So there's a number of them. So
White Pages.
Yeah, White Pages. Back in the day, we used to use White Pages before a lot of this technology and these services, these sites came up. We used White Pages all day long back in the day.
Yeah, I was even researching, Greg, yesterday with Toby on White Pages. I mean, not White Pages, but Deal Machine. They've really upped their game. They have a lot of other add-ons now than they did 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
And then one other Karen, and I think it was Toby or Toby may have asked this question. You can go, Karen, Google foreclosures daily. Foreclosure daily is really going to get him the information that he needs. Make sure that's the right site. But I think it's foreclosures daily. I think that's really probably the best site for him.
Okay. All right. I got one more question that came in, Greg. Tax sale foreclosures. And the question is, do you think we should use an attorney for a tax sale foreclosure, or is the process simple enough that we can do it ourselves?
In terms of bidding on the property, you can do it yourself. But in terms of once you win the property and the 6-month redemption period is over with, you have to hire an attorney to help you with the foreclosure process. You have to foreclose on the person. And so an attorney is going to need to do that for you. But in terms of bidding, you don't need an attorney to bid.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have, Greg. Some good questions tonight that came in.
Yeah. So I just dropped a couple good nuggets for you guys: Authentic, DataFlick, and Foreclosures Daily. Just verify that those are the right sites. Karen verified that DataFlick is right. What are the top 3 methods of setting appointments? I think did we answer this already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if this is setting appointments with me, I would just say either text me or you can go to my scheduler, which is gbschedule.com. GB, my initials, gbschedule.com, or just pick up the phone and call me. I would say that texting is the best way, and then schedule an appointment, gbschedule.com would be second, and then just picking up the phone and calling.
I wonder if that's setting an appointment with the seller.
Setting appointments with the seller, you just simply call You give them the reason why you're calling. You tell them you want to make a cash offer. You'd like to see the property. When can I meet with you?
All right.
Don't make this that more difficult than it needs to be. It's real simple. When can I meet with you? Are you available tomorrow? No, I'm not available. Well, are you available the next day and what time? It's just as simple as that. Just picking up the phone, calling, telling them why you're calling, and asking for an appointment. All right, anything else?
I think that's it for this week.
Okay.
Time to
All
close
right.
out the year strong.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, you guys. We've got to close out strong. And what that means is you've got to know what type of marketing you're going to be doing, and then do it. If it's driving for dollars, if it's postcards, whatever that is. One thing that I'm working on is one thing I've learned recently is that a high percentage of our motivated sellers, one of the first things that they do is they Google. They still use Google. And so they'll Google, need to sell my house fast. They'll Google foreclosure. They'll Google cash buyers. So they go to Google. And so what I've been doing is I've been actually buying those leads from lead vendors who have hired SEO companies and got their websites ranked high. So when someone Googles that, people will click on their site organically, and then they do it organically, so it doesn't cost any money. They got the algorithms up so high by using what's called backlinks and things like that, so that when someone Googles that, they come up organically. Now, you can do what's called pay-per-click, where you pay to have a high ranking, but every time someone clicks, whether they're just clicking for just information or they're clicking and filling out a form, it costs you, I'll say, up to $20 a click. That's pay-per-click. And so I've been just buying leads from companies that are doing that. What I did today is I hired an SEO specialist out of India. And so they're going to optimize my site so that I don't have to buy these leads from these lead vendors. And being totally transparent, I'm paying between $200 and $350 a lead for one lead, you guys. And I'll break out the numbers in a minute, but one thing I did today was the last 2 days I've interviewed SEO specialists, and I hired one today. Very, very, very good, very, very inexpensive. And so what they're going to do is optimize my site to the point where if you Google a number of different keywords, my site is one of the first ones that come up organically. And then I'm going to have the pay-per-click as well. And so that's one thing that I'm doing. You've got to ask yourself, in order to close out this year strong and get started next year with momentum, what's the one thing you can do? Like the one thing, what is it? Is it postcards? Is it using one of these sites to get predictive data, better data, so you're more successful? Is it social media, driving for dollars, networking, whatever that looks like, whatever that is? And it could be networking. We're going to have a networking event next month where we come and have food and we network with each other. We're going to try to start having that once a month. So we're looking into that. But whatever it is, you've got to do one thing that you can be consistent with, that's going to get you at least, 1 or 2 or 3 deals before the end of this year. And so pick out one thing, you guys. Are there any new lists you haven't showed us yet? I don't think so. I mean, I think we've talked about every list. I mean, I think the top list are pre-foreclosures, absentee owners, high equity homeowners. And then if you can get a list of probate, you can get a list of the pre-foreclosure list, and any other list that you can get from the courthouse. Those are the best lists. Is there an investor meeting on this? I think it's going to be next Friday. We were in the process of moving our office and just kind of fell behind on scheduling something for this Friday. And so I think it'll definitely be next Friday in terms of a lunch and learn. And those lunch and learns, you guys, people are networking and they're doing deals with each other. And so you got to figure out a way to start networking, being in the same environment, same places, like-minded people. You hear that 1,000,001 times, but it's just so true. It's been true in my career, but it's just so true. You've got to be in the room with the right people. So Karen is saying she's still handwriting her postcards. The appointment that I went on with her on Friday came from a handwritten postcard. And I think we're coming close to getting that one. So that's good. All right, Keith, that's it.
Okay. I was just checking my phone for more questions that may have came in. So we're good for now. And let's go. Let's go.
Let's go, you guys. Let's go. All right, you guys, take care. God bless, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.
I'll try to be brighter next week. Yeah,
we'll get you a nice big. I'm dark, so I've got to have the light on me. I don't have an option. And then thank you for Jade for hopping on at the last minute.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you guys, take care. Good night.
Good night.